Hi, so I'm going to talk to you today about some different ideas or examples of projects you could do, projects you could do associated with this intercultural communication course. Now, of course, graduate students could just do the regular assignments for the course and an annotated bibliography. But if you wanted to forego that work and do one project, these are examples of projects you can do. So we're going to work in what the realm we call communication activism pedagogy. And communication activism pedagogy uses communication in some way to enact social justice. And the book I brought this from is Frey and Palmer, 2014, Teaching Communication Activism, Communication Education for Social Justice. And it's this book right here. Fantastic book. It has a lot of great examples of really good work that people are doing. So I'm just going to talk with you through a number of different programs and examples. So the first one is developing a sustainable program of community activism within a Latina migrant community. This work was done through Georgia Southern University. And in that area, for the Vidalia onion harvest, there are 10,000 annual migrant workers that come in there. And in Lyons, Georgia, in that area, the Latino population is as high as 17.8%. Now, with this rise in immigrants to come and do the labor work, and also the rise in the immigrant and Latino population, there's also been seen a rise in violent acts against these immigrants. So they developed what they call the Southeast Georgia Communities Project, right? And in that project, it's grounded in, and this is where communication theory comes in, and we would want you to apply communication theory in any of these projects you're developing. And so this is grounded in Dwight Conkergood's 1985 model of ethical dialogic engagement, and we're not going to go into detail on that. If you want to talk with me individually about that, then you can do so. And the key is that there's student engagement with these migrant workers. So there's an ethnographic encounter, meaning the students actually get involved and engage and do some of the behaviors of the migrant population. And part of what they were supposed to do in this ethnographic encounter were to take journals and to make reflective papers on their experience. And there was also a student video project connected with this experience. So we had some students doing an ethnographic encounter and some students taking video as a media project. So part of what they need to do is to get an understanding of the sources of pre-existing stereotypes regarding this population, right? And it was an opportunity to use course concepts such as code switching. So in this group, in this course, they just talked about code switching, how people can kind of change their kind of cultural codes to adapt to certain situations. So so we see that there is a use in specific communication theories to enact a specific social justice project. And so we need to make sure you do that. You don't just go out and say, oh, we're going to help these people and we donated money to something and that was communication. We need to actually have communication theory involved in it and intercultural communication theory. So the next one I want to talk about is using speaking centers to amplify marginalized voices and building sustained community movements for social justice. So they use speaking centers, so speaking centers in the university, to help people learn how to talk so that they could then go out and do social justice work. So this is the Speaking Center at University of North Carolina, Greensboro. And their goal was to support speaking beyond the campus, right? So they had the Speaking Center, and the Speaking Center was made so people could come in and practice their speeches for courses. But they said, let's extend our Speaking Center beyond the university. And one of the things that they identified was the Association of Retarded Citizens, the ARC. And with regards to that, there was a specific organization that helped individuals in this group, and it was called Joseph's House. So it was a community center that helped people from the ARC. And there's also what they call the Greensboro Hive, and the Greensboro Hive was kind of this, in a sense, a grouping of a connection of a lot of different social justice projects. And they worked together to pool their resources so that they could address a number of different social justice issues. So the public speaking process was a 2-hour workshop called Speaking for a Change. And what they did was they tried to kind of close the education achievement gap. They were looking to close the education achievement gap for different types of students. So, and they were fighting against unfair school policies and practices, right, that they felt were major contributors to this education gap. So, to increase the diversity of voices involved in the discussion of the project. So, they used Monroe's motivated sequence, which is a common communication theory about being able to what we call speak to actuate, speak to motivate, speak to actually get people to take action. And it's a very common sequence that we learn. We learn it I teach it in freshman first semester oral comm. So they were taught, these people, how to do 3-minute persuasive speeches. So we want to be able to, again, think of what do we do in communication and how can we use what we do in communication to help people out there to empower themselves. So here's another example, which is the Performing Advocacy course. And this is performance ethnography. And performance ethnography is, in a sense, a theatrics, playing out a life. So Dwight Conkergood, who you saw mentioned earlier, used to do performance ethnography, and I saw him perform the voices of people on death row. So he had done a lot of research with people on death row, and he would speak what they said and try to speak it in their voice so that people could get a sense of really the humanity of somebody in that position. So performance ethnography is a performance-based process. So they use community-based performance as a way to work towards social justice. And in this project, they perform the narratives of those people that they see as marginalized. So they listen to everyday life performance. So they listen to audio recording, and then they speak the words along with the audio to perform the text without, and then go to perform the text without the audio or the transcript. So in a sense, it's a total immersion experience that they learn to articulate the voice of the different individuals that they see as marginalized individuals, no matter what the situation of their marginalization. And then I'll talk last about a service learning project. This serving learning project is Never Forget Your Dreams, and it's associated with the Crazy Horse Memorial Project. So there's this family, Zalkolski's family's advocacy for North American Indians. There's a struggle of a contemporary Lakota, with respect to poverty, racism, and forced assimilation into the greater European American culture. And there's a focus in this relationship, a dialogic narrative of two separate voices. So in that dialogic narrative, there's a kind of inaction of taking the perspective of the other and also advocating for a position. So, and again, those are what we would call dialogic communication, and we have a lot of research on dialogic communication. So as you see, each one of these examples uses communication theory and centers communication in the advocacy project, in the social justice project. We would want you to do a similar type of project. It can be focused, it can be local, it can be something that's particular to a specific, a smaller specific project. It doesn't need to be this world's greatest, most extensive project. As long as it's focused, it's aimed at addressing a specific social justice issue, and that you effectively and creatively apply communication theory and communication practice in your social justice intervention. So think about this, and if you want to do something along these lines, I need to know by week 4. You need to commit to doing that so that we can get you moving forward. You will need to write a literature review, which discusses the issue, discusses the theory that you're thinking about using, discusses the approach you're thinking about using, and how other people have used that. And then we'll move you forward to being able to actually enact your project if you choose that. If I don't hear from you by week 4, then you will be required to do the work, the regular undergraduate work in the course, and also write the annotated bibliography for this course. Thank you, and have a great day.